Are you planning to be in the Toronto area and want to watch a live taping of the show? Lorna invites you to be her guest. Email tickets at contextwithlorna.com or call 416-599-9777 extension 33 for more information.
Well, Context is back looking at solutions for the famine in Africa. But before the break, we asked our studio audience, do developed countries have a responsibility to support developing countries? We asked, yes? Were you unsure about that or no? And here is how the audience voted. 82% said yes, 7% of the audience are unsure, and 11% said no. Well, we're going to go to our audience for a comment about that, and we have Keso here, who is originally from Somalia. And tell me, what kind of news are you hearing back from Somalia?
Well, the people back home want help, they need help, and that goes without saying, but they also want us to advocate on their behalf. They want us to have our organizations in Canada provide service and support within Somalia so that people don't have to travel to refugee camps for miles. So they need help, and help is needed urgently, and it needs to be supplied and distributed within Somalia.
Does it feel like it's been slow in coming from the developed world?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you very much, Keso. Our next guest has seen the famine's effect firsthand. Mike Weikert is the Director of Humanitarian and Emergency Affairs with World Vision Canada, a Christian aid organization. He recently visited northern Somalia and Kenya. And Mike, what did you see that we need to feel?
I think I saw some very difficult situations that people are living in. I visited two areas, one in more the northeast of the country, in Puntland, where people were streaming out of the famine areas to get to, often traveling 15, 30 days to get there. Another area more to the west was similar traveling distances and even more dire circumstances. Basically, people were telling us they needed everything. They had very poor shelter most of the time. Food was quite scarce. There was a lot of malnutrition among the children. Water was also a problem for many people, and so there's real risk of disease spread because of that.
You heard the hesitation I had that the aid would not get through. Assure me that, how do we know it does?
Certain areas, it's not getting through. But the areas where World Vision is working are areas where it's safe. So the area of Puntland, as I said, is an area that is not touched directly by the civil war. It's an area where we can move freely, and I was able to travel quite long distances, and we were able to help malnourished children there with a clinic that's treating them there. The other area in the west was one that was harder to get to. I had to fly into it just to get there. But you could access the place. You can bring things in by air, and then World Vision either works with directly with the communities we're trying to help, or with partners who can work there as well.
So you sense there's this reluctancy. It's nothing like what happened in Haiti or even in the Japan crisis. Why should we push past that and give much more than we have given?
I think first and foremost, the need is incredible. I mean, it is. I've done this type of work for about 15 years, and this is about as bad conditions I've seen in places. As Ahmed was saying, you know, there shouldn't be a famine. I mean, there are difficult conditions there, but what people are going through is beyond what almost any human can bear, and it's particularly affecting the children who are the most vulnerable in these kind of conditions. And
can you assure us that if we give, those most needy will get it?
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, we have teams on the ground who've worked in Somalia for long periods. Many of them are Somalis themselves. Others who are people who know the country well. They have direct links with the community, and we are able to assess who are the most needy and get the aid to them. There's some areas that are harder to get to, and we work with partners, but then we are very careful to vet those partners to make sure that they are going to deliver the programs well. They're going to be able to show us how they've used the money. And so we have these systems in place, and then beyond that, we have good audit systems to make sure at a proper accounting level that the resources are accounted for.
Okay, I want to just go back to Ahmed, who was from our first segment from the Somali and Canadian Congress. And Ahmed, Canada is going to give $1 billion overseas for aid this year.
Yes.
But expats are giving $9 billion. Like, just put that into perspective. It's remarkable. We think we're giving so much, but your people are giving $9 billion, and as well as other expat communities from developing nations, remittances back into their country. How valuable has Somalia giving been back to Somalia in this crisis?
Well, just simply put, the diaspora gives just the Somali diaspora alone gives $1.5 billion a year in remittances.
That's more than we're giving to all other developing nations as
Correct.
a Canadian citizen. That's incredible. As our tax dollars, everything.
Now,
incredible.
Just a simple statement, without that $1.5 billion remittance annually, Somalia wouldn't be afloat today. You would have had mass starvation years ago, if not decades ago.
Now, you were telling me in the break that as Islamic leaders, you are going to try to pressure for a solution. Tell me about that.
Well, the idea is just like the Khmer Rouge starved their own people under a false ideology, it's time for the Shabab to be confronted about their false ideology, which makes them, they think it serves some sort of weird purpose to starve their own people. So the idea is to do two things at the same time. Where there are no Shabab in most of Somalia, enforce the reformers to make sure food aid is not diverted, and then within the Shabab areas, open humanitarian corridors and have a diplomatic surge which incorporates Islamic and African leaders who will confront al-Shabaab. They have credibility with these folks and challenge them on their theology and ideology that says, what purpose does it serve to starve your own people?
Incredible. Thank you very much. I'm so glad to hear that's happening. And those diplomatic relationships are something that World Vision gets involved in as well. Now, remind us, how can Canadians care then?
I mean, really, the best way is to give money to charities they trust. So, I mean, obviously for World Vision, really the easiest thing is just to go to the website. It's worldvision.ca, and it's very easy to make a donation online there. And from there, you can get reports and updates in terms of what we're doing. So it's not just give the money and forget about it, but you can actually see what World Vision is doing with the money, and you get a sense of how you're contributing.
All right. Mike Weichert, thank you very much. Stay in the studio audience, because we're going to be going to another very personal approach to getting involved in the famine. But now it's time to find out what you think. Do you feel compelled to donate in times of need? Would you say yes? Would you say, I'm not sure? Or would you say no? We'd like your answers via Facebook, Twitter, email, or by phone. But here in our studio, our audience is doing a live poll on that vote, and we'll have those results after the break. When we return, a Canadian woman who has dedicated her life to helping Somalis here in Toronto and in Africa. You won't want to miss this woman.